Hey, welcome to the show. I'm Lance Simons, and today we're going to talk about the Delta Airlines crash in Toronto coming from Minneapolis, St. Paul. I have ideas about this, what went on, and I also want to talk about my emergency landing situation one time. So stick with me. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome to the show. Let's get started on this. So, as we know, over the weekend, actually Monday, there was a jet crash that was coming from Minneapolis to Toronto that ended up crashing on landing and stopped upside down on the tarmac. So let me read a little bit of the article that I found here, and then I'll tell you a little bit my thoughts and my incident that happened to me when I was flying. So, a Delta Airlines passenger jet made a dramatic crash landing on Toronto's Pearson International Airport on Monday afternoon, flipping upside down on the tarmac with its tail and one wing torn off. All 80 people on board climbed out of the jet, which was coming from Minneapolis. At least 18 of them suffered, some of them critical but not life-threatening. The authorities are investigating the cause of the incident, which occurred amid strong winds and drifting snow. First of all, I don't think that it had much to do with the snow. I've been in situations where I've flown into the Arctic several times, and the runway is iced. Maybe different braking scenarios, but it said that at least 18 of them suffered injuries. I know now that 21 was taken to the hospital. 19 have already been released, so that's good. What I really think happened, looking at it and watching videos and reading the news, is that the plane lost over 1,000 feet in a minute on its final descent. That means that they either stalled or they got a downdraft of some sort. And I'm no pilot or an engineer or aerodynamic engineer or anything like that. I don't even know what to call it because that's not who I am. But what I do know is that I've been on a lot of flights. I've been on flights that come in over the waters in Anchorage, Alaska, or in Juneau, Alaska, where you're flying sideways like this from the wind just kind of shaking and bobbling, and then all of a sudden, right before touchdown, they square up and they ease in for the landing. I've been in situations where we've had to come in, things weren't right, they accelerated, and we took straight back off again. That happened in Nome. The lady grabbed my leg, said, "This isn't normal," and I said, "Yeah, I know, but it'll be fine." And we circled around and came back in again. So I think if that jet knew something was wrong, they would have accelerated and got out of there. But what I think happened is they were forced down to the right. It looks like they landed on one wheel really hard. That may have been broken, and then from there they just tumbled in and lost the wing, lost the tail, and landed on their top. I don't know just from the video, but that's pretty much what I saw. So I don't think it was the snow. It might have been the wind. At least, variation of the wind and downdrafts and airspeed. They said the airspeed was fine. It was about 140 knots, which is fine for landing, but they came down real fast. So I'm sticking with my belief that it had to do with a downdraft or a stall or something. So in my situation, once I was coming with my wife, my child, and a lap child, coming out of Anchorage into Kotzebue, we had lost an engine about, I would say, 20 minutes outside of Anchorage. In fact, I got a little article here that I found. I'll just read a little bit of it, not the whole thing. Alaska Airlines jet was forced to make an emergency landing here Wednesday night after one of the 737's engines failed. The 54 passengers aboard the plane were warned to prepare for a crash landing, but the plane landed safely at 7 p.m. And with no injuries. The incident occurred on a flight from Anchorage to Kotzebue, which is 550 miles northwest of Anchorage. Said further down, it said the engine just started rattling as we took off about 20 minutes outside of Anchorage, said Willie Goodwin Jr. of Kotzebue. I think we lost the engine right after takeoff, said Lance Simons. I heard something pop and the plane pulled. Flight 153 had been scheduled to continue to Nome from Kotzebue, but the airline sent another jet to continue the flight. Alaska Airlines said the engine will be replaced. So this happened maybe a month or two after Alaska Airlines 261 went down between Mexico and San Francisco, somewhere like that. So that was on my mind. Also on my mind were my kids. I had two on the ground. I had one lap child, one in the middle seat, and then my wife. And as we were coming in, so we lost our engine. We were flying about 15,000 feet. I don't think we didn't get up to the 30 where you normally fly. We flew in just high enough to get over the mountain ranges. Then we flew in. It was quiet as far as people talking, as far as I could tell, because it was rattling so bad. The left engine was just, you could just feel it. I looked out the window, I could see it. I had the window seat. I had some smoke now and then coming out of there. It looked like, it's probably when he kept trying to restart the engine. So when we finally got into Kotzebue, which is, I don't know, about an hour, 10 minutes outside of Anchorage, after, and you get up there, it's an hour and a half flight or something like that. We had to circle to dump fuel. And then the Kotzebue runway is a hillside on this side, the ocean on this side, and then the runway. So thankfully they had just de-iced the runway that day. And that's why I don't think snow had anything to do with this Toronto crash. That's maybe the depth perception, maybe, because I've been up there where you're having whiteouts and you can't even hardly see where you're going. But it may have had something to do with his depth perception. But so when we came in, it was quiet. They cut the engines right at the ocean side. They flew in this way. They cut the engines, and all you could hear was like the wind coming over the wings. And when we came in, perfectly smooth landing. But as I was holding my lap child, I could see out the window that they were preparing us for a crash landing. There was emergency personnel, fire engines, ambulances, probably everything in the little town of Kotzebue was at the airport. So anyway, we got off the plane. People started crying. There were people that were kissing the ground. My wife worked for the airlines, so she and we walked into the back office, and the co-pilot was leaning against the wall. The pilot was on the phone talking to Seattle, and we heard him say that it was a typical simulator landing. Everything was fine. And come to find out later, because I was the local emergency planning commission coordinator, that one of the fans in the engine turbine, whatever it's called, came loose, went through the oil pan, went through the engine. That's why they couldn't get it restarted. But that's also what made it go out of balance. So it was just like, that's what was making the whole flight shake, and everybody was terrified. It was just, I didn't really fly for about a year after that. I've flown a few times since, but I still take anti-anxiety medicine when I fly. I had to fly for work back then, and first couple of times, because my wife worked for Alaska Airlines, they have a program where they'll send an accompaniment with you to keep your mind preoccupied on something else while you fly. So they did that a couple of times for me. I've also flown on little planes between the Alaska villages because I was a girls basketball coach, and we hit some pretty rough stuff in that too. So I've been in some pretty rough flights, both small planes and jets, and I just don't think snow had anything to do with it. But this one in Toronto, and it's sad that I'm glad that we survived. I'm glad that people in Toronto survived, but my wife is from Unalakleet, Alaska, and that plane that crashed going from Unalakleet to Nome a week or so ago, really affected her because that's her small town. That's where she was raised. We didn't know anybody on that flight, but we knew a last name or two, so we didn't know anybody specifically that was on that flight. But it's sad to see that happen. You got the one that crashed down in Arizona with who was it? Vince Neil's? Was it Vince Neil? I don't know. The rock star down there in Arizona. His girlfriend's private jet. His private jet, his girlfriend and friend were on it. And then the two back east, Philadelphia and Washington, D.C., or wherever they were. It's sad just to see all this going on, but these have been going on for a long time, but not this serious. You can go to a website, and it tells you every airline or every incident that happens, from serious crashes to planes running into baggage carts or something, something like that. You can find all that kind of stuff, or incidences and accidents, and it goes on a lot, but not this seriously. So I think we just had a string of bad luck here in the last month or so. So anyway, I just want to tell my story and what my thoughts are on this crash, because I have a hard time believing that it was snow related, unless it had to do with the depth perception, because I've been in situations where you don't even know where you are. I used to deliver groceries in the Arctic, and I'd run into snowbanks because I can't see where I'm at. I'm out on snow machines, and I go over a cliff because I can't see that the snow ended. So the whiteout conditions can be serious. So anyway, thanks for watching. I think that's about all I wanted to say. Is thankful everybody's okay on that flight. So thanks for watching. I'm Lance Simons. This is the Lance Simons Show, and until next time, God bless.